Hello guys, Satsuma Benji here today, and I am starting a new playlist based on computer programming. I'm going to be teaching beginner programming basically from noob to complete programmer, or as much as I can. So first thing to know about programming is your compiler. Firstly, you need to know which compiler to get. If you are just starting off programming and you don't know whether you're going to continue it on, I recommend Dev CPP or Code Blocks. If you definitely know this is the thing for you and you are 100% sure you're into the game, then I would recommend going with Microsoft Visual Studio. 2010 includes the Visual C++ package, but it has been removed in the 2012 Express version. Of course you can buy it, but if you could buy a full license, but if you're starting off I wouldn't exactly recommend that. So this is how you get started in Microsoft Visual Studio Express 2012. You're just going to hit New Project. If these aren't already opened up for you, you hit Win32 console application, and you should have your users, documents, and a default file path created by Visual Studio called projects for you to get started in. I'll do most of mine in a new folder, I suppose. Call that YouTube. That's YouTube. And let's get started. There is no easy way to start programming, really. I'm just going to hit next all through these. You want console application and empty project. That will not be ticked by default. Just hit that. I'm going to show you how to set everything up. If you don't hit that, you might have a few things set up for you. You can try compare them to mine and edit them if you wish, or take a look at what they do by default. I'm not too fussed really, so hit finish and we'll get going. There's no easy way to start programming really. You just sort of have to take a look at the most basic stuff and dive straight in. So as soon as this loads, which it's going to take a while to do because I've told the video recorder to go on high quality, so my compiler is going to be a little bit fussy today. There we go. So yeah, I hit empty project, so we get nothing really. We get output at the bottom, whatever you've got set up on the right. I imagine that should usually be there, but I've messed around with my interface a little bit. I think by default there's something here as well, but it doesn't really matter. So we're going to add the main file to this, and you can do that by right clicking on your solution browser here. Have a lot to do with project. This is a single project. You can include multiple projects in your solution for larger things, such as a game for example, but that's way too complex for now. So click on your project and add new item, CPP file. I would just go call it main.cpp because that is the traditional name. Might well stay with traditions. And here we go, main CPP. If you've closed down the solution browser at all, you can reopen it in window, I imagine. Nope, but it'll probably be in view. There we go, Solution Explorer. Or failing that, you can create a new file through project, add new item there, as well as all the other stuff. So I'm going to just dive in, and you're just going to have to sort of bear with me for a moment. Right, that is the basics of a program. I'm just going to hit compile here. Oh, whoops, wrong button. Where's F7? There it is. Going to hit compile here, and I've not... Oops. That one. Project YouTube intro debug. There we go. See here, one succeeded build. And what you're going to have to do with something as simple as this, I'll explain how it all works in a moment, but if you want to just test it, you're going to have to shift and right click to open command window here. Right click won't work, but you can shift and right click, open command window here, or you can go to command prompt and manually do it, and then run the name of your program. So just type intro.exe. You'll see here, hello there, YouTube is printed, and then the program exits, and I can type back into command prompt again. So nothing really exciting. It says some stuff and then closes, which is why you can't just run it, because that happens. So we saw that on that command prompt, this was sent to the screen. Hello there, YouTube. And you'll see why in a minute. Right, so I suppose we should just start at the top. Hash include. Anything that starts with a hash is known as an no it's not, it's known as a preprocessor directive. So anything with a hash is done before all the source code. It's a preprocessor directive, and yeah, that basically means it gets replaced. Not necessarily acted before, but it's replaced with something. And include especially or specifically means that it's replaced with this file here. This file, you can open it up with right click and open file, contains loads and loads of functions, well not loads and loads, but a good hefty amount of functions and other files and comments and whatever what you don't need to know about really. But two of the functions in that are the std namespace cout, which is the standard output, and std end L, which is the standard end line and flush statement. Although we'll admit we don't actually need it here, I could just leave it like that, but it is again tradition to do so with an end L. This here using namespace std is like a shorthand, because as I mentioned this is part of the std namespace. Every time you see that, it should actually be like that. All these letters should have the std, all these functions should have std put in front of them because they are of the standard namespace. You'll see lots of std namespace functions scattered about everywhere during these tutorials, and during while you're learning it is best to just put that there, but once you get into building your own stuff and feeling confident, try take that out and build some stuff which is safe, because this is considered unsafe and you'll find out why that is later. This here is this entire section from this, between these two brackets is the main function. It's called main because, right, I've read it there. If I was to call it something else, like, I don't know, Jeremy, then it would be the Jeremy function. But every application, every Windows application at least, if it's to run standalone, it needs a main entry point to compile. Without that main entry point, when we enter it into the command prompt, it just would not run because it hasn't got a clue where to start the program. In fact, without the main entry point, it won't even compile. If I was to change this, take a letter out and try and recompile, you'll find that I get errors. There we go. Unresolved external symbol main referenced in function tmain crt startup. I've no idea what any of that is, but it basically Windows is complaining. Windows itself hates it. So yeah, the two curly brackets here, well, two standard brackets are what indicate this is a function rather than a type. You'll find out what types are in a minute. An int here is a type. Int is short for integer, and the integer is 4 bytes of memory on your computer system. If you don't know what a byte is, I'm wondering whether you should be doing these lessons at all. But a byte is 8 bits of information. If you don't know what a bit is, you really shouldn't be doing these lessons. But a bit is just an on or an off in your computer chip. So that there represents 32 ons or offs switches on your computer chip. And this here, this return statement, any function which has a type must have a return statement. If I wanted to, I could actually replace this with void, which means no type, and remove that return statement, and it'd be perfectly fine. Or I could also just remove what it returns and just tell it to go back. But I'm going to have it as an int because this here is the standard exit call. It's basically 0. This here is the same thing as typing 0. But let's be fancy. So return is what this function will give back to the system when it finishes. I'm hoping that all of that made sense because I feel like it was rather a rant. So, sorry if I've caused you any trouble there. But like I said, programming is something you really do have to like jump into and bite off more than you can chew to start off with, and you have to develop on programming. So I mentioned cout was the standard output stream. Cout is only for running with console applications like this. If I run intro.exe again, I know it's saying we've got errors down here, but if it doesn't compile... Oh! What have I done? Oh, that's interesting. When things don't compile, their files get deleted. Would you look at that? Oops. Uh-oh. I'm... Yep, just crashing my computer there. Trying to run the program while it's not fully made yet. So if I run intro.exe, we get the hello there YouTube. Because it's running through the command prompt, the standard output is through the command prompt. And if I didn't run it through, if I didn't run it through command prompt, lord, it creates an instance in itself because Windows has nothing else to run it through. So it uses that as the standard still. So I hope that sort of starts us off. If not, then you're all in trouble, and it is completely pointless talking to me. Okay, next lesson is on types, so come back for that.